I just hit record.
Are we ready to go?
Sure. I mean, do we need...
Did you record when I exhaled the beverage?
No, I hit record while you were drinking in the middle, and so you put...
So you got the whole thing.
Yes.
Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to the Rita and Ryan Show.
Stay hydrated, folks.
Yeah, and I'm really hyper.
It's hot out there.
That's right.
It is. It is.
I'm super hyper conscious to the fact that my head is taking up almost all the space on this video.
It's your imagination.
No, it's not.
I mean, it's your podcast, so.
So in real life, my head is not 3 times the size of my body like it looks right now. But I digress. Anyway, we've been on hiatus because Ryan kicked me off the show and he couldn't find another person named Rita. So he finally
I can't kick you off your show.
Yes, you can.
No, this is your show. I'm just along for the ride.
So yeah, I think it's been 3 weeks or 2 weeks or since our last taping.
Yeah, something like that.
So we took our summer break. We took our summer break.
1 week I forgot. Another week you had work stuff, and then another week I think we both kind of forgot.
So
it's the end of the summer. It's hot. We're tired.
I thought the better narrative would have been you kicked me off the show.
No.
But Ryan can never tell a lie.
Oh, I mean, I can if I have a reason to.
Okay, so since this is
but the truth is much more interesting.
Yes, the truth is much more interesting story. Yeah, we flaked.
Yeah, it's.
I had to work. We thought Mondays would be great, but Mondays are not turning out to be great.
No, it's better for the fact that I have more energy. Like, because when we were doing the ones on Saturday, I had no energy because I'm exhausted, and
because you work all day.
Yeah, manual labor stuff, and so I'm like,
yeah. So me and the audience hadn't heard that. Tell us all about that.
Right? Yeah, the
digging ditches and
the oh man, there was a couple of one of the weeks when we weren't here. Like I was doing insulation for like a week and a half. Like that's I don't know if you've done that.
The rolly one or the you get to blow it into the walls. You do the rolling.
Oh no, well, it's not. It's like the roll ones, but it's already like laid out sheets. It's like 9-foot sheets that are folded in half.
Did you wear a hazmat suit? Because that stuff is itchy if you get.
Oh yeah, yeah. Basically, I had one of those painter outfits, and then I, bandanas around my face and.
Your long Jesus hair.
Yep. Hair pulled back in a ponytail.
No man bun on the work site for you. You got to play it.
No, that's just for just around the home, around the apartment. I don't need a bouncing ponytail in my. No, actually, I don't notice the ponytail because I wear a bandana over my head, and so like I'd have more trouble with a bandana. With a man bun.
Do you have your hair in the ponytail and then the bandana, or do you have your hair long?
I try to do a ponytail and then I put a bandana on.
Oh, got it.
Sort of, yeah. And then.
So you're ready to ride a Harley.
Looks like it. Right.
I
dress.
Before I get on that Harley, I'm gonna roll some.
Put my hair back. And
roll some insulation.
Right, but if I'm at home, I do the kind of pull over half-ass attempt at a man bun. If my hair is not, usually it'll be down, but sometimes I'll pull it back in a little half-ass man bun just because I don't want the ponytail bobbing around.
Well, can I change the subject completely? Not that I don't want to talk about your hair anymore.
Sure, go for it.
So something weird happened this morning. I was in Nevada visiting my dad, and so I go for.
You were abducted by aliens.
Well, that was last weekend, but So I leave really early Saturday morning because it's a 3.5, 4 hour drive. So leave between 5:30 and 6 a.m. and then I'm there to have breakfast and visit. And then I'll stay until early Monday morning. So I leave at 7. Now, where my dad lives, you take a freeway exit. It's on the Sparks and Reno side of Nevada. You take the exit, and it's 9.5 miles to the housing development. You know, these big, long, long, long roads. You take the exit, and it says 9.7 miles, take a left. So the reason that's important is, so I leave this morning, and I don't know about you, but if you ever think while you're driving, like you'll think, oh, I have this great idea. I've got this brilliant plan. I've got these things to do. And you start to organize it in your brain. Well, sometimes without knowing it, I'm actually having those conversations out loud while I'm driving. I did not realize it until right before you. So here we're 9 miles going,
you didn't realize someone was in the car with you?
Yeah, no. There was no one in the car. But right before the freeway entrance, I'm at a red light. I hear honk, honk, honk. I look over to my left, and a guy's signaling for me to roll down the window. Roll down your window. So I'm like, what? He's like, were you on the phone for the last 15 minutes? I said, what? No. He's like, who are you talking to? It was so random.
Harvey?
I just rolled up the window and the light went green and I left. And so here's the thing. I was talking out loud to myself, and then I proceeded to do it for the next 3.5 hours. Talking about work stuff, talking about business plans. So this afternoon, or no, later in the morning when I got home and I texted you to say, are we on for tonight? Good to go. Let's make a plan for 7. I thought, around 4 o'clock, I thought, you know what? I'm just getting a little sleepy. I'm going to set my alarm and take a quick nap. And then I thought to myself, when I woke up late and had to say, I'm going to be 10 minutes late because I woke up late for my nap. I'm wondering if the fact that I talked to myself for 4.5 hours straight while driving, if that increases the chance of my sleepiness.
I don't know. But I also have no problems believing that you talked to yourself out loud for 4.5 hours.
It's not a lie. Sometimes I'll go, and sometimes, so I'll turn the music on and, that totally inspired me. I want to use that. That tag is something I could do, tagline of the song or key part of the song. That's a great segment for a short presentation. And so I'll start talking about it because when I say it out loud, then it helps my muscle memory so that I'll remember it because I can't write while I'm driving.
I would practice. I used to actually practice music while I was driving because when I was, touring and, playing shows every week as, a rapper, I would use my time while I was driving, because it was, typically 20 minutes at least to get wherever to a half an hour. And so I would practice my sets like every single day. And so I would have the instrumentals playing in my car cranked up real loud. And so that's what I would often used to do.
No, it's a good time. I mean, of course, because what happens is when you get on the road, the GPS says for the next 147 miles, stay on this road, right? You're just going on the road. And safety, I mean, I'm watching everything I'm doing. It's just, and so in between, I would listen to a little music. But so my question for you, Ryan, on a scale from weird to crazy person, could I be the only person that talks out loud to myself in the car? No,
probably not.
But what do you think? Is it weird or crazy person? If you saw a woman driving down the road, and another thing.
I definitely would not be rolling down the window trying to get your attention. I'm not trying to get stabbed.
All of a sudden, I know. No, all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's Rita. I'm not going to bother her right in the middle of her own conversation with herself.
That's not what I thought you were going to say. I thought
Oh.
I thought you were going to be like, the guy asked me to roll down the window. He's like, hey, are you Rita from the Rita and Ryan podcast?
Yeah, well, with our 4 followers on Twitter, I don't think we've gotten that.
Oh, we got 4 followers on Twitter? That's cool.
Well, 2 of them are us.
Yeah, which means 2 are somebody else. I thought there was only 3.
No, we have 4 followers and we're following them too. So it's, wait. No, it's always been 4 and 4. Every time I look at it, I laugh because we haven't really promoted it that much, but we will.
I can log into the Religious Detox Twitter and follow us. I'll do that.
There you go. And yeah, I could set up a bunch of bots. We could bot ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We could have the Rita and Ryan bots.
Well, that's kind of what I do on Facebook because I have like 14 different fucking pages, and so I post everything on all the different pages I have access to, whether it has anything to do with that page or not. I post it. Like I'll go through.
You and I are hooked up because every time you post something, I get a notification for it.
That's good. That means hopefully other people are getting it as well. The can't tell money wise because nobody's buying anything, but
so not much has gone on in the last 3 weeks since we last talked. I don't feel like it's been 3 weeks. Maybe it's been 2, but maybe it has been 3. Because we didn't miss. Well, there's 5 weeks in August, so I don't think we missed the whole month of August.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's 2.
So what have you been up to?
Same thing. Work and home, which is just maintaining.
How clean's your apartment? How's the dust?
It's okay. It's on a scale of really clean to gross is it's not bad. Could be a little better, but not bad.
That's good. I saw a thing of what was it? I saw a YouTube thing about men talking about women. I don't remember who it was.
Oh, women's bathrooms are the worst.
Well, it was all about, and I it might be even somebody I know. I don't know, but it was about if you invite a woman over to stay with you for the night, don't to your house, your home, mess it up on purpose and see if she'll help clean it up. That's how you know it's a good woman. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So it's, for guys, so on purpose, you leave socks around or you leave a couple dishes in the sink and then see if
a lot of dudes' apartments are
right?
like that anyway.
It's like to purposely do it. But so
I don't have enough room to do any of that. Like,
so I guess that's the thing is to go, you got the lovin' and now she's cleaning up after you. That's kind of like a measurement if is she a keeper or not. But I've never felt compelled to clean. It's always had to be by obligation. That's just funny to me. It's like I wouldn't be chosen.
Yeah.
Your socks are on the floor. They're going to live there until you pick them up. Not because I can't do it. It's just that I'm not compelled to. I just don't see where that would. I get where it would make a man happy, but it's not that I wouldn't want to make him happy. I would rather do something else.
Who wants to pick up socks?
Right? But if it's like a test. So that's the whole thing. That's what's funny about it. It's a test. To say purposely mess it up, like live in clean quarters, but if she's coming over, so you can test to see would she be willing to clean your dishes and pick up your socks or whatever. I'm just adding socks, just mess it up a little bit. And then you can see, oh, that's a good one because she just feels compelled to do it. And it's funny because I just thought, oh, that's one way to look for a woman.
Yeah.
My grandfather well, my step grandfather, my father's mother was married like 4 times, and this was the third. She outlived them all. She outlived them all. But he said the way they picked wives in his day, it was who could peel the potato skin the thinnest.
Was that a euphemism?
Nope, that was what it was. There were farmers. Everybody was incredibly poor, and it was, the young girl, because they were young then, 100 years ago. But I was always fascinated by that. To go,
They
yeah,
only lived to be 24.
right. But it's so true. It's that how we change and evolve as a society of what the measurement between men and women are. It just seems to be a lot right now, kind of in what I see on YouTube, or a lot of the conversation about what they call the manosphere, or this red pill, or
The test that I used to do, I don't remember what movie I got it from, but when you pick up a lady for a date, make sure your car's locked, and on the way back, open their door and unlock it, and then walk around, and if she unlocks your door for you.
Oh yeah, I saw that somewhere too.
Yeah, I don't remember what movie I got it. I got it from a movie.
That's right. I vaguely remember the movie. It's like, and then when the part came to the right girl in the car, and she leans over and she opens it. Yeah.
And like, funny thing is, more ladies opened it, like unlocked it, than didn't.
Well, you're a nice guy.
So that was.
Well, that's the amazing thing, and I don't think it's ever going to change. Men and women are so different, and their experiences are so different. It doesn't change per generation. It's just what's around us changes, but it's very difficult because nobody can see into the future. No one can read minds, and men during a certain age point, especially when they're young, they're not looking. They're living for today, and they're looking for beautiful women. And young women are looking for a lifetime partner. So, and no one can say that out loud. A guy can't say, listen, I just want to hug and kiss you. And she's not going to say, I'm looking to see if you're husband and father material. So it's always going to be like that.
Yeah.
But
it's hard.
But now,
why,
yeah.
What? Yeah. I've, air conditioner.
Mouse?
Yeah, no. But last night I did see a cricket. Like I saw something moving across the floor, and I was like, "Fuck, a roach!" And I looked, and I was like, "Oh, it's a cricket." Yeah. And so I was like, "Oh, I don't have to kill this one." So I put a plate over it and a piece of paper under it, and freed him, and set it free outside, so he could go chirp in the night.
Yeah, crickets close up are kind of weird looking.
Yeah,
they look a little roachy, and a little praying mantis, like praying mantis roachy.
They're like kind of gnarly looking grasshoppers.
Yes, exactly. So
they're like small gnarly grasshoppers.
And out in this hot state, and this is their time, especially if you've got a nice garden around you, or
I wish I had a nice garden around me.
But
I live right on a major street.
You don't have grass? Do you have grass and trees around your place?
No, it's all
concrete. In the concrete.
There's
so he's really lost. But the weird thing is, because I
mean, there's a patch of grass in front of the apartment next to mine.
Okay, well, he probably. Well, where'd you let him go out? Just back out into the concrete?
I just opened the door and
say goodbye.
Yeah, whipped him in the wind. He's got an exoskeleton. He'll be okay when he lands.
It's true.
It is.
I love, though, that's the thing, is that insects with exoskeletons are super gross to look at, or have on their fleas, roaches, crickets, but they're really cool to study in depth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that,
It's
that's why they're easy to kill with certain
like
things.
crabs and lobsters
Yeah.
are. I don't eat lobster. It's
Just
like
because
the
crustaceans, you don't
well,
like.
I think I have like a shellfish allergy. Like I get
Well, that's good. You shouldn't eat them.
yeah, it's not. I don't know. It's weird because I get it like food poisoning symptoms when I
Mm.
eat it.
Don't do that. Don't eat that.
Yeah, no, I don't want to because the next couple hours aren't fun at all.
Well, that's a good thing.
They're very bad.
Again, that's all we need to know.
Yeah.
But I'm happy I don't have that problem because I love lobster.
And shrimp do you like
I love
shrimp?
shrimp.
That shrimp's the main one. That's the I've had like where you can put lobster and shredded crab on top of sushi rolls and stuff.
Oh, was it
And
real? Was it real?
I don't know. I
Yeah.
wouldn't know. I don't
So
know.
fun.
When I eat
That reminds
sushi, I don't
me.
know what I'm eating.
That reminds me. It was so funny. My dad mentioned it that Subway got in trouble for not having real tuna in their tuna
Oh
fish.
yeah, it's unknown material.
Fishy fish, right?
Yeah.
And my dad's like, and see, and this is weird. I have this weird thing to say there's two sandwiches I would never buy on the outside of the house: egg
Tuna's one of
salad
them.
and tuna.
Yeah.
Because it just seems ridiculous to pay $8-9 for a sandwich that you could make 10 sandwiches for $8-9 with a couple cans of mayo and but it's also it's a hit or miss because tuna can get funky. And
Well,
yeah,
I don't necessarily expect most fast food for the meats to actually be what they say the meats are.
or I think that
necessarily.
they're in trouble because they say that it's fresh, but it's all processed,
Yeah,
right? And
and
so
I mean, isn't there like aren't the McDonald's burgers? Isn't there a lot of like questionable material in their
yeah,
hamburgers?
lots of sugar, lots of salt.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's one of the things that I recently learned about McDonald's is that like their burgers are all cooked with sugar as
Well,
well as their bun.
did you ever see the documentary Super Size Me?
No. I know
That
I'm
yeah.
familiar with it, but I was like I know like duh. I don't need to
Like
watch
what
a
I
movie
didn't,
about
yeah,
it.
what I didn't know was the salads, how much sugar was put in the salads. So that was interesting. And then, and then it's just, and it was so, when I think it was 18 and I went to a business seminar and it was about, a guy did a whole big thing about, cost analysis and if you're consistent, but he used McDonald's as an example. And I'll never forget it. It was so surprising for me. And he said, it's a mediocre product at a mediocre price. Because no one's going to say McDonald's makes the best hamburgers in the world. People will say, I love the fries. But if you watch Supersize Me, you will wonder what's in those fries.
Yeah, it's
Because,
sugar.
well, not only that, but they did a test at the end that there's so many preservatives in the bread, in the meat, and in the fries that they put them in bottles and tried to do the time lapse. They speeded it up, and it's kind of like it was hard for the bun to mold. Just they put like regular food, like but the French fries look pristine after like 2 weeks, where a regular potato would be brown
Yeah.
and moldy in a few days, right? And so that's the thing, the preservative part of it. It's like, what in the heck? Because you think they're just fries, but anyway,
And yet people still shovel money into companies that hate them.
what do you mean?
Like McDonald's doesn't care about you if they're pumping that crap in everyone across the world's bodies.
And
They don't care about what it's doing to people, about the diabetes and
well, I think
the
though, don't you think though, 50, 60 years ago that it was real food?
yes, I
50,
think
60 years ago it was real food. It's been over the original concept was real meat, real bread, real cheese, real, because we didn't have chemical companies making all of these preservatives. And then over time, it's like, how can we do it faster, cheaper,
Yeah, it's
and
because these
food?
companies don't actually care about you. They just want to make money, and we keep giving it to them.
But that's really interesting comment, because I don't. Yeah, it's like, is that no one ever considered years ago of the moral? I mean, look at cigarette companies.
Hmm.
The
And
product.
a lot of these companies pay off scientific research studies.
Yeah,
Like,
because
I mean, you
because
can look
right,
at
yeah,
the sugar industry and the tobacco industry. Like, there are, I don't have any of these documents in front of me,
right.
but they are out there. If you want to actually look at it, look at it. There are people who could explain it much better than I can,
Well, I can
about
tell you that,
actual
yeah.
court cases and things like that. And that's one of the things that is so baffling with talking to I don't know, I guess normal people or whatever. It's that they like to forget the details for all of these things. Like,
Right.
no one looks into everything that and I don't even look into it that much, and I know partially because I know what's beneath the surface, and it'll just drive me nuts. Like, looking into, like, I know there's all kinds of shady things put into every single bill on top of what the bill is actually about. And so you think you're passing one thing, but you're actually passing, and so it's the same way with all of the companies, like the sugar industry and the tobacco industry. Like, there are actual court cases and documents and things that you can read and look up,
Absolutely.
and everyone seems to have such short memories about these things.
Well, I
Like, they're
think too,
so
right?
busy
In that,
hitting the pleasure button, like the mice in those experiments, that they're not
well, in
wanting.
that, right? I think too that especially people my age who experience, when my mother told the stories that in the late 60s and 70s, the doctors were recommending smoking for small birth weights. I remember being a little kid, you people smoked everywhere.
Oh
At the
yeah,
movies, in restaurants, I remember seeing the grocery store, somebody would be shopping, smoking. You can't even
I
imagine,
you
especially
could
since,
smoke on
yeah,
airplanes up, I think,
yeah,
until the mid
smoke
'80s.
in the hospital, could smoke in the hospital. There's a picture of my dad with my brother, and it was in New York State, sitting, because in those days, the husbands didn't go into the delivery room. They came in
Yeah.
afterwards, right? Smoking
Yeah,
a
there was
cig,
still.
hold the
I
baby,
still remember
smoke a cig,
smoking up into the '80s and '90s, like,
right?
especially in Kentucky, where tobacco is where it's
Well,
a.
because it was so funny, California was one of the first states to become super restrictive with no smoking
Yep.
anywhere. And then, because remember the restaurants that would
Kentucky
have
was
us,
one of the last.
right? But remember the smoking section, non-smoking section, right?
Yep.
Because people don't smoke, they get all that stuff. So funny. So being so used to it. And then I was in my mid-20s and I had to go to a meeting in Texas. And it was so bizarre because you get so, used to it, saying, because it was so significant, the cutoff. First it was the bars, then it was the restaurants, and then it was, you can't smoke anywhere because everything was a zone, right? So, and the only place people can smoke is way out on the curb somewhere. But the thing is, going to Texas and then going into, I think I was going to breakfast at a Denny's, and they asked me, do you want smoking or non-smoking? And I cracked up going, oh, they still have choices here, right? But then I just sat in the non-smoking, but it was just as smoky because all they do is put in fans, right? It's like, it just means that someone's not sitting directly next to you smoking. But it's so funny that we're kind of kidding ourselves with smoking and non-smoking. But my thing is that my mother smoking to for based on a doctor's freaking recommendation. Then of course she's addicted to it. Then she has um, lung related illnesses in her 50s. Then it's her fault for not being able to quit this addiction. Then I went to all these classes with her, learned there's like 2,000 um, chemicals and part ingredient or something like that it's all geared to go to the brain towards that addiction. And cigarettes are really bad. So,
Yep.
but this whole, just looking back, and then my mother actually died of the COPD, smoking related illness. That's what killed her, and that's what's getting my dad. There's an article I read, and then I went to it. There's a little museum of all these old advertisements, and they've been advertising. Doctors were advertising Medical Association, Chesterfields, Camels, Salem's. Oh, there you go. Right.
Yep.
The more Doctor's Choice.
More doctors smoke Camel than any other cigarette.
Right. All those, exactly. See those? And then what, I can't tell. Some are really old. So were they in the 40s? Were they in the 50s? Viceroys, because cigarettes I haven't even heard of.
Yeah. Now, scientific evidence on the effects of smoking. Chesterfield is the best for you.
Right. So then, and I would say that during that time, people didn't know better. My parents weren't educated like we are now. They didn't have, all the information at their fingertips. But look at all that. Right? So.
Yep.
But so we know it's highly, highly, highly addictive. We know that all the way up into super oversold. Everybody and their brother smoked. Everybody in the movies smoked during those times. Remember the 20s, 30s, 40s? Everybody smoked.
TV shows.
Right. Then it was the 60s and 70s. The tobacco companies were starting to get dinged because all of a sudden high levels of lung cancer. And then the behind the scenes of a big company. And that's what happened is the tobacco companies got a little too smart or cute and tried to hide it. And then that's when the whistleblowers or whoever said, yeah, they knew the whole time how addictive it was. They knew people are dying of lung cancer left and right, even though they kept denying it. My thing is that watching my mom and my dad go through treatment after treatment in terms of our medical facility. Of course, they always said, well, the reason why you have trouble breathing or you have bronchitis or asthma related is because you smoked for 30 or 40 years. And you just have to have this, or they'd say, we'll put you on antidepressants or all these different things. And my thing is that you just look back in time to go, look at, if a doctor is telling you that this is a way for women to have low birth weights, a highly addictive substance.
They weren't lying though.
Right?
Right? It will help you lose weight.
Right? Then fast forward, and then all of a sudden now you're sick from all these years of this addictive smoking, and now it's your fault. You don't have the willpower to quit, and so
it's not just that it's bad for you; it's that they put extra things in it that make it more addictive. Yeah. It's not just the tobacco and nicotine itself, because nicotine also does have its benefits outside of tobacco, like cognitive benefits, but they put extra things in it that make it much worse for you than if you're just smoking.
But like I said, look at smoking was so glamorous until it wasn't. And then everything is anti-smoking. You shouldn't smoke. And now we're going to control the vaping and all that crazy stuff. My thing is that from a personal point of view, kind of going back to what you said before, watching this whole cycle, being old enough to know and hear the stories of saying, my doctor recommended I smoke. So, because my parents are going to have a lot of kids. And the smaller,
they used to use leeches.
Right. But the thing is that to go watching them struggle with trying to quit seemed like all the time. Right. And then the ups and downs and the failure kind of thing. And then now, as we know, my dad's got lung cancer. Not good. And of course, they're like, yeah, your lungs are just terrible.
Is he still smoking?
No. But
that's good.
So that is good. But it's just that thing of going, and I'm not going to use my dad. No, I don't think he was swayed by, he said he started smoking when he was 10. So that's all. That's just being one of the cool kids, I guess, in
Yeah.
1945, I suppose, out on the farm. But for my mom, I think that people that have no voice in terms of family members who watch a parent struggle with the side effects of 50 years of smoking, nobody cares what we have to say to go, or to me to go, or when I question things for the medical association, I'm going, yeah, now, we hear the food chart was upside down, so we're fatter because we're eating more sugar. We should have been eating less carbs, less sugar. We got, 30% of people
And
diabetic in the
different
country.
types of carbs.
Right. So, but I also, on one hand, I get to say, okay, I'm glad somebody finally admitted it, that it was just all projections based on whatever. But now it's good I know that, because that's all everything's ever been. We're making these recommendations based on a bunch of people thinking, and they maybe they're highly educated, but
who follow the money, who funds the research,
right?
That is
but getting back to the business and the moral thing is that, but still, no matter what, tobacco companies don't have to have a moral code. It's a business. Once they found out, my thing is, once they found out,
but the people that operate it should have a moral code.
I would say, my opinion is, the minute they said, oh, ding, 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 this is killing people, here it is. That's when the moral code comes in to go, okay, you know what? We don't want to have that. So where the moral issue is when you hide it and fight it and say, no. We are totally unaware that this is killing people left and right. And we don't think copious amounts of lung cancer throughout everybody who smokes or all these smoking related diseases are smoking related. And then they fight it until they have to say, you knew all along, kind of thing. But that's my perspective, where I think their moral code come in, because you and I could create a product and we would have no idea that it was dangerous until it was dangerous. Right?
Yeah. And then you stop.
Then you stop. Right. Then you say, oh, I'm terribly sorry. But
use what you learned to make something else that hopefully doesn't kill people.
That's where cynicism comes in, where you just go, we're on our own, people, because, but again, that's what's so interesting right now, in the last 5 to 10 years. So many things are wrong and no one's being held accountable for it. But I mean, really big shifts in how we do things.
That's why
so overregulated.
That's why the people on the boards for these companies should be held responsible for the actions of because the company isn't in itself isn't evil. It's just a thing. But there are living, breathing people that move the pieces around for that entity, and they should be held responsible.
Right. Well, we're in a state that.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Just
and Warner Brothers and Disney is funding Gavin Newsom. Like, I didn't think that. I thought it was bad form for companies like that to fund a political candidate.
Are they funding him, or are they?
Yeah, they're paying for a lot of the. They've been donating in some way, shape, or form to Gavin Newsom to block the recall and for his reelection.
Isn't that going to be really interesting? Because that's almost over with, right? We have to have our ballots in by a certain time. I guess.
Yeah. It's super interesting. Because it could really go either way.
Right. That's when I saw the thing come back, that it was like 48 to 49%.
Yeah, because the people that support Newsom probably aren't going to go vote.
Well, and the people,
then there are probably more people that are mad at him that will go vote that weren't polled, and so it's going to be very interesting.
I will tell you, the recall has been going on since he got into office, though, and it was weird because I was down south. I was in Rancho Santa Margarita, down in Southern California.
I thought you were going to say Rancho Cucamonga.
No, but I could have been.
That's over here by
California.
me.
Right. And right. So, but Santa Margarita, nice little suburb up in the, I don't know which part of it. It's outside of LA. It's a sales event. It was at a strip mall, really fancy strip mall. And
I thought you were going to say, is that a strip club?
No.
Pretty high end.
What was happening
club.
is I was working with a client and a bunch of people kept coming up to this address out in front and saying, is this the Newsom recall area? So like 100 people over the course of an hour kept driving the parking lot, coming up saying, this is the address we were given. So somehow they got the wrong address, but a lot of people did. I don't know if it was posted online. I remember thinking that going, this has been going on since the beginning. So the fact that it got this far, and it's not, and that's what's going to be interesting. It's not just, he keeps saying, oh, the Republicans, is that, and that's where
they're all of the commercials that play down here are like, evil Republicans are spreading propaganda about Gavin Newsom. Right. I'm like, is there an option in there about him just being a bad governor?
Well, no, and the funny part, though, speaking as
the evil Republicans, someone stop them. Right. Stop the evil but maybe he's just a bad governor. There's that option, too.
Right, and so I saw something someone said, oh, my God, if you vote out, Newsom, California is going to become Texas. Now, which makes me crazy because if anybody understands basic civics, just replacing the governor doesn't change the House, and
it doesn't change politics. Any of that, any of the other actual laws, none of the city and local people that keep LA a fucking dump. Like, it's not going to,
all that would happen, because it's happened in a bunch of different states where super majority Democrat state house.
Yeah, not much is going to change, guys.
Right. So
relax.
Say, we want a Republican in as the governor, and what you see for 2 to 4 years is the governor completely vetoing everything they say, and then and then them vetoing him. That's what would happen. You'd have to have a huge movement but the little secret that most people don't see because they get their news, how else can they get their news? But people who live here, I will say this until it's not true for me anymore. The people are generally in the center, a little to the right, a little to the left. We're out of 40 million people, it's like the loudmouths you see on TV, and a lot of the people in higher positions that are to the extreme. So this whole weird thing about turning us Texas, but I think that's where
it's because everyone's listening to the Twitter population, which is virtually no one.
But what people who don't live here, those fires, the fires that took over towns, and this is fire completely wipes out a town, and then it hit Santa Rosa. This was last year and a half ago, and then PG&E is found guilty, and they plead guilty to the deaths because it was maintenance. It was inefficient maintenance on their transmitters, causing a fire that completely burned down an entire town in California. So that's devastating. And so somebody's got to make changes, and we all can say that. But instead of saying, okay, they're going to be held accountable, a company can't go to jail. They're not going to hold people who made those decisions not to maintain the transmitters and cause the sparks in the middle of a dry forest. No one is going to be held accountable for not keeping the forest swept and maintained because they go up so quickly with the fires, because the some of the environmental groups say, let it just go and burn, but we live in the middle of these forests. So that's one thing. But then for the next 6 months, for the governor to say this was all climate related, when in fact you can't say to reasonable people, wait, we've just had an entire town and 80 people die from these fires, and we've just had a big case where they pled guilty to these deaths, and now it's climate, and now they're doing so the consensus is I just think what's happened normal. I don't care if you're an independent, a Democrat, or Republican, something's not right in Dodge. And I think this is the one way to go. It's those fires, the unemployment debacle, because remember California had the biggest amount of fraud that and so we saw report after report, people desperate to get benefits couldn't even get in through the computer on the phone lines, and then finding out that billions of dollars went out in fraud. And Newsom keeps coming out on YouTube saying, my bad, my fault, I'm taking responsibility. But then it's just one thing after the other. Now we're in a drought, and there's they're talking, and the schools being closed. I mean, the schools just being shut down, and we've been locked down for a year and a half. There's a lot of reasons to go. There's a lot of stuff going on that I can see people not just in the middle, not on the extreme on either side, going, something's not right. Oh, and let's just take San Francisco, where a ton of retailers are absolutely just shutting down their stores because of the crime rate. That's not the governor directly.
People shitting in the street.
Our homelessness is up to almost 30,000 people in the Bay Area alone, and yours is ridiculous in Southern California. So just because we have Hollywood and we have Silicon Valley that generates billions and trillions of dollars doesn't mean it's working for everybody else. So that whole thing about having the studios and major and the other thing too is that they did a poll. The whole thing when we were sorry, I'm from California. And I'm not telling people how to vote either way. I'm just looking at it as a reasonable person to say it's not Republicans. I think people who live here are going, we can see with our own eyes. And when we had those mandates, and people in the very beginning, when we were locked down, because our county was one of the very first places to lock down across the country, everyone was like, we can get through this, we can do it. And then those pictures surfaced of him, and then him walking his kids in with no mask to private school while public schools were shut down. I think he personifies the do as I say, not as I do. And so it's going to be interesting. I just think I think though, whether he gets it, if it happens or not, I think it's going to be a wake up call. But I imagine the Democratic Party is pretty nervous right now. Cuomo, New York State. That's what I mean. Something's happening. That's my opinion. And and I'm not a big political person, but
okay. Yeah.
No response?
No, I want to, like you earlier with my hair, I would like to change the topic now.
Okay.
but I didn't know what else. It's kind of weird, interesting news. I'm into, because I'm into independent artists and creator-owned content and things like that. And I've been following the comic book industry because Marvel and DC are just totally imploding. Like DC's basically canceling everything but Batman, and they're also claiming, due to paper shortages and stuff like that coming up soon, they're just not even gonna. They're gonna be skipping a month or so of actual publishing.
Dear Lord.
Just the. Just all of the disastrous things that they're doing in the mainstream comics, like to the comic industry. Like on the other hand, which I find very interesting, the whole Comicsgate stuff. Like the people that they're demonizing, that a lot of the mainstream fans are demonizing these people as like Yahtzees and istophobes and just like saying terrible things about a lot of these people that used to work in the mainstream industry. And which is crazy, like, because I mean a lot of these artists I was vaguely aware of them, and I liked their work back in the early 2000s and early to mid 2000s, 2010-ish, give or take a few years from there, like the like Ethan Van Sciver, like the stuff he did with Flash and Green Lantern. I remember seeing that. I was really into the whole Blackest Night storyline. like Shane Davis, which is actually kind of well, he leads into kind of the whole point of this. Shane Davis drew Superman and some of the Red Lantern stuff, and I do remember like seeing some of his stuff floating around DC like back in the day, and so they're two very prominent artists in Comicsgate, and
Right.
and there's some other names, but within the last 2 weeks, there are a couple of guys. John Malin being one of the artists. He drew for some Marvel stuff. I'm not as familiar with his work, but I think he drew like Cable. But anyway, these guys are all promoting their comics and raising money through Indiegogo on YouTube. And over the last like month or so, like John Malin, his campaign for his comic Godlike, like, so whether you're into Comicsgate or not, like, or the thing, like, the numbers in this are very interesting because he has raised 199 or 196, he's almost to $200,000 in like the last like 35 days
Right.
for his comic. Shane Davis, who just released this cat comic book that was, or just fulfilled this cat comic book that he raised money for last year, and he's got a new campaign about these like monster fighters. Like, they're monsters, but they do these like cage match fightings, and they also
That's cool.
protect the city. Like, yeah, it's a really cool concept. And Shane launched his comic this weekend, and he's already at $150,000.
Well, don't
Like,
you think
it's
though, Ryan? That's what's really happening here, and that's what we're
it
taking advantage of. Is
like
that
the
yes,
Comicsgate
right,
community, whether you hate, like, because most people hate them, and whether you like them, whatever your opinions on them, you can't, like, they have, for the comics that they have been putting out, they have raised several $1 million.
Why did they call it Comicsgate? Is it like the Gamergate thing?
Yeah, it's like the
It's like
Gamergate thing.
people separating, going like, "I'm not taking this anymore.
Right.
I'm just gonna go
And
on my own."
a lot
Yeah,
of it started several years ago when Ethan Van Sciver, the artist, when he became unemployable because of his political views,
right.
because he is pretty Republican. And so
So, but
he
don't you
got
think? Yeah,
labeled all of these different things.
right.
And
And he just started writing out, making his own.
yes, yeah, he went back to Cyber Frog, which is a comic which I actually remember from the 90s, which he actually did back in the 90s as an independent comic before he got on at DC. And and so he just started doing Cyber Frog again, and has raised millions of dollars for Cyber Frog. And then when you add everyone else, I think they're in the tens of millions, like,
Sure.
as far as the
Well,
money that
look at
they've raised.
right. Look at right now, Substack.
Yeah,
Substack.
that's
Right.
the, well,
It's like
Substack's a little it's a little weird, but yes, there are a lot of
it's
artists
so
that are
right.
going to Substack.
And I know there's some mainstream people, but there's also people who aren't mainstream, who write on whatever genre they write on, who are making bank.
Yeah.
And and then some are going because nobody wanted them anymore. They were too controversial with their
And
maybe
it's
center right or left ideas. But that's what I'm thinking, is that what's going to be so interesting over the next year and a half is you can't look away from YouTube having 4 billion uploads and views a day.
yeah, and one of the things I keep trying to do is I keep trying to psych myself up to start doing like solo podcasts and
Yeah.
putting out
Yeah.
short social
I mean,
commentary
I've told,
videos.
behind the scenes, we won't, we'll get breaking news on our show when we launch, but of the different projects that we're not going to talk about, that about. But there's no reason right now why just having the conversations of saying, hey, like I said, my ideas, I'm from Northern California. You're in Southern California. Our friends are in Indiana and Colorado and in St. Louis and all these different places. Everybody where they live knows what's happening where they live because it's local.
Yeah.
And I think that all we hear in the kind of what we call the mainstream is national news that is different than what the lives we live. but people are craving just, and I'm not saying it's normalcy, but it's like all the different, whether it's the comics and people, as you can, just as you explained, people are willing to pay for it. Is that why pay for the shenanigans instead of I can get it right here with somebody who, like one of my favorite artists or more and more artists, because what's just, I was just thinking about this this morning.
Yeah, right now one of Ethan's campaigns, he's at like $400 something thousand for action figures. Like he's made action figures for his comic book Cyberfrog, which is amazing for an independent. Right. Like, hate on them all you want. What he's doing and what they're doing is amazing. Like, it's really cool to see. And the thing is, like, because I am looking on, for just random content like this about subjects that I like, which is behind the scenes of entertainment, whether it's Hollywood, music, comics. There's no one doing that on the left.
Yeah.
Like there's no movement, like there's no group of independent artists that are all gathering together to promote each other's work and to talk about it. Like there's no community that large. Because I'm like, that'd be nice if there was an alternative. So it's not like I have no problem with them. Like their political views don't bother me. I don't care. Like I think they're funny. I'm not offended by anything. I'm very anti I'm very pro speech. I'm pro free speech. Right. But that's the best way to say it.
That part, and yes, and the other thing, sorry for interrupting, but the other thing is that how many, think of all the friends and people that you have in your life that I don't agree with everything everybody does and says, but it's
nobody agrees with anything I say.
Right. So it's like,
everybody thinks I'm crazy.
Right. Well, or just talk about it. Go, I don't care how people vote in California.
I don't agree with either side. So my opinion is fuck both of y'all. Like, cause I disagree with both of you. So,
but my thing about that is that they go, but I can totally see both sides. I can see one saying, why would you recall this and spend all this money, 2 years prior or a year and a half? The other side is that, but I can totally see, because my experience is something's gone it's tilting too far in the wrong direction. We shouldn't, in the last 20 years, and I'm not saying it's all under Newsom, but he does carry the banner for the Democrats, and that a governor could say to different cities and counties and, whatever, to cities and counties, that's not cool.
You had to bring it back to Newsom.
Yeah, I do. Well, my point is that is what I could talk on, but if someone said, believe me, people very close to me it's ridiculous and they're so pro-Democrat, it doesn't matter who the name is. And we just don't have the conversations. But to have someone in my life that go, oh, I can't be friends with you anymore, Rita, because you're friends with this person who has views I don't agree with. That to me, that is on the scale from weird to crazy person.
Yeah, I'm pro independent creator. So that's all I care about, is if you are the type of person that supports small businesses and local things, independent artists, if you the type of person that supports those type of things, then I don't really care how you feel politically, because that's what I care about is on a smaller scale, and so it's and speaking of artists, Sam Tripoli released a special this week. It's really good. It's hashtag No Lives Matter. Speaking of pro free speech,
I got a little thing on YouTube, a little commercial on that. And
on the it's really funny.
I haven't watched it yet.
I watched it twice.
Well, I'm not surprised because you're his number one fan.
It was originally released on samtripoli.com. And so I was like, oh, cool. Because he was saying that he wasn't going to release it on YouTube. And then it just got released on YouTube today. And so I was like, oh, cool. I'll give him a view. Like
Oh, there you go.
you know,
And it's just as funny the second time around.
yeah. Oh, it was actually, some of it was a little funnier. The his little his airplane bit is pretty funny.
Don't tell me. I will watch it. I was just a little, those little 12-second commercials on YouTube. It was
Yeah.
promoting
Okay. Cool.
the show. So
So yeah, if you like his type of comedy and unusual slant at viewing the world,
if I was super duper famous, Ryan, and I could pull anybody in the world to talk to, I would get you on his show. I promise you that, because I know how much you love him.
Yes.
And all his 14 shows.
Him
so
and
you're
his,
welcome in
Thanks.
advance.
Thank you.
But yes, okay, before we go, because I know we're up to an hour, I'm sure. How are we on time?
We just hit it.
Oh, good. Okay. Support local businesses, support artists. And I'm going to tie it up in a bow and not talk about California, but tie it up in a bow with just the industry.
Yeah. My music will be on Spotify soon. I finally paid my you have to pay money to get your music on all those that stuff, and so
yay, Ryan!
I finally put all of my old music up on it'll be on Apple, on iTunes, Spotify, Pandora. So as soon as that goes live, if it goes live before the video posts, I'll put the link in the description for that, because I will have new music soon. So I need to so I'm going to start pushing out some of the old stuff a little more.
That's really great, Ryan. And I'm going to only gently do a passive promotion for something I'm not going to tell you, but I will tell you that it's going to start launching. The campaign is going to launch at the beginning of October.
Okay, cool.
So I know it's not as impressive as launching an album and paying to get it up and hearing things.
Well, you also can't give any information. And
I can't. No, and you seem to feel
you just have something. You're doing something in October. You're more vague. I have specific details.
Bye, Ryan's album.
Yes. So new music coming soon. New music coming soon, and check out my old music, because that will help.
Okay, so the close of this is just going to be promoting you.
Yes, and
what I can't talk about.
I want to move. I want to move out of California, so I need all the.
Ryan's looking for roommates. You want to move. Oh, you need to.
Why did it?
Oh, that's what I thought you were telling me.
What grown man wants a roommate? I need money to move.
All right.
I need extra money to move.
So maybe we should add a Patreon and a GoFundMe for Ryan to move.
Or we can help set up some Indiegogos. Like I'll for projects, get those funded.
Okay. Well.
But that you got to have fans first. So that.
Shall we say good night, Ryan?
Good night, Ryan.
Good night, Ryan. Bye, everybody. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Until next time.